Imagine a city of ghosts, where the snow is stained red and the air crackles not with life, but with the constant thunder of artillery. This isn't a scene from a horror movie. This was Stalingrad in 1942. A battle so brutal, so vast, it would devour entire armies and change the course of history forever. The German Sixth Army, the pride of the Third Reich, stood at the city's gates, seemingly invincible. Hitler himself declared, "No one will ever drive us out of this place," but he was wrong, dead wrong. This is the story of how a city named after Stalin became a frozen hell and the turning point of the Second World War. It all started in the summer of '42. Operation Blue, the German Grand Plan, was in full swing. Their objective? The oil fields of the Caucasus. But standing in their way was a city stretched along the Volga River, Stalingrad. To Hitler, capturing it was more than a strategic goal. It was a personal obsession. Taking the city bearing his arch-nemesis's name would be the ultimate symbolic victory. So he diverted the mighty Sixth Army under the command of General Friedrich Paulus to crush it. In August, the German war machine descended upon Stalingrad. The Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, unleashed a bombing campaign of unimaginable ferocity. Over 1,000 tons of bombs fell on the first day alone, turning the city into a sea of fire and rubble. The once vibrant metropolis was reduced to a skeleton of shattered buildings and twisted steel. Civilians fled in terror, but many were trapped, caught between the relentless bombing and the advancing German ground troops. It was a terrifying preview of the nightmare to come. As German tanks and infantry pushed into the city's ruins, they expected a quick victory. But they were met with a resistance they couldn't have imagined. Every bombed-out factory, every shattered apartment building, every rubble-strewn street became a fortress. Soviet soldiers, under the command of General Vasily Chuikov, fought with a desperate ferocity. Chuikov's famous order was simple and brutal: not one step back. They would defend the city to the last man, the last bullet. The fighting devolved into a savage, close-quarters struggle the Germans called Rattenkrieg, the Rat War. Soldiers fought room by room, floor by floor, in the labyrinthine ruins. A single building, like the famous Pavlov's house, could change hands dozens of times in a single day. The front line was everywhere and nowhere. A German soldier might be clearing one room, only to be attacked by a Soviet soldier emerging from a sewer grate or a hidden hole in the floor below. Snipers became the ghosts of Stalingrad. Legends like Vasily Zaitsev picked off enemy officers from impossible distances, spreading fear and paranoia through the German ranks. Life expectancy for a new soldier arriving at the front was often less than 24 hours. The city itself became the deadliest weapon, a meat grinder that consumed men and machines relentlessly. As the brutal autumn fighting bled into winter, a new, even more formidable enemy arrived: the Russian winter. The Germans, so confident of a swift victory, were disastrously unprepared. Temperatures plummeted to -30, even -40 degrees Celsius. Engines froze solid. Weapons jammed. Soldiers, still in their summer uniforms, suffered from frostbite and hypothermia. Their rations dwindled. They huddled in frozen cellars, weakened by hunger and the biting cold, while the well-acclimated Soviet soldiers seemed to draw strength from the very ice and snow. The once unstoppable German war machine was literally freezing to death. Then, on November 19, 1942, the Soviets sprung their trap. While the Germans were fixated on the city center, Soviet Marshal Georgy Zhukov had been quietly amassing over 1 million men, thousands of tanks, and aircraft on the flanks of the Sixth Army. They launched a massive counteroffensive codenamed Operation Uranus. 2 giant pincers smashed through the weaker Romanian and Italian forces guarding the German flanks. In just 4 days, the jaws of the trap snapped shut. The entire German Sixth Army, over 250,000 men, was surrounded, cut off, and completely isolated inside Stalingrad. The situation for Paulus and his men was catastrophic. Hitler, in a fit of delusion from his distant headquarters, forbade any attempt to break out. He promised to supply the trapped army by air. "The Führer will get us out," the soldiers told each other, clinging to a sliver of hope. But the Luftwaffe's air bridge was a dismal failure. The planes couldn't fly enough supplies in, and the Soviets shot down many of those that tried. Starvation set in. Soldiers were reduced to eating their horses, then dogs, cats, and rats. Ammunition ran low. The wounded lay in freezing makeshift hospitals with no medicine, their pleas echoing in the darkness. The once proud 6th Army was being systematically starved and frozen into submission. A desperate German relief attempt, Operation Winter Storm, was launched in December to break through the Soviet encirclement, but it was beaten back. For the men trapped in the Kessel, or cauldron, as they called it, all hope was lost. They were ghosts, haunting a dead city, fighting a battle that was already decided. The end came slowly, agonizingly. On January 31st, 1943, a broken and starving Field Marshal Paulus, whom Hitler had just promoted in a vain attempt to make him fight to the death, surrendered. Over the next few days, the last pockets of resistance fell silent. Of the nearly 300,000 Axis soldiers trapped in the Stalingrad pocket, only about 91,000 were left to surrender. And of those, ravaged by starvation, disease, and frostbite, a mere 6,000 would ever see their homes again. The human cost was staggering, with total casualties for both sides estimated to be close to 2 million people, making it one of the bloodiest battles in human history. Stalingrad was more than just a battle. It was the psychological turning point of the war on the Eastern Front. The myth of German invincibility was shattered forever. For the Soviet Union, it was a symbol of incredible sacrifice and unbreakable will, a victory that fueled their long and bloody march to Berlin. The ruins of Stalingrad stand as a stark and solemn reminder of the horrors of war and the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. When hell froze over, heroes were forged, empires crumbled, and the fate of the world was decided in the rubble of a city that refused to die. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as compelling as I did, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the most pivotal moments in history. We'll see you in the next one.